kids in low-income areas selling candy door to door for promised scholarships that never came, raising over $857,000. Some of that money diverted into some personal bank accounts. Maryland nonprofit receiving over $60 million in taxpayer funds says that it hasn't completed a financial audit in the past 4 years. Just one person employed by the Baltimore City has been recorded to receive over 250 hours of overtime in one single month. $500,000 in COVID relief funds to pay music artists at Artscape in 2025 without approval. Headliners, I'll put the names: Fantasia, Robin Thicke. These are the some few things that you hear and that you're going to learn a lot more about in this limited exclusive series. Where the my money at? Investigating millions of Maryland taxpayer dollars. And I'm your host, Blasé Chris. Now, nonprofits play a crucial role in Maryland, supporting everything from health services to youth development, with billions in annual funding from state grants and federal sources. Take my own experience growing up in Baltimore. I participated in the Youth Works program, which taught me valuable lessons about professional work life and responsibility. Programs like that show the good side, the real impact on communities. But when oversight fails, like Connections Through Life case with over $61 million in unaudited funds, it raises serious questions. That's why we're here, to trace where the money goes and how to spot these type of issues. Overall, these organizations receive estimates of $1 to $6 billion yearly from public coffers, making transparency essential. To set the stage, let's look at some extremes. The youth club scandal involved exploiting kids for fundraising, with funds diverted personally, a clear portrayal. Fast forward to 2026, Mayor Scott's SUV purchase includes $60,000 in upgrades, drawing criticism amid ties to his wife's nonprofit. Hannah Scott worked as the Director of Operations at Be More Empowered from September 2021 to September 2025, according to her LinkedIn profile. Her employment there ended the same month the organization announced that it was undergoing an organizational pause. It's still unclear if the nonprofit plans on to open back up to normal operations. Be More Empowered, the mission statement is to empower Black women and girls through mindfulness and entrepreneurship, is also behind on its tax filings and was recently sued for unpaid rent. It's also listed as a delinquent on Maryland Charity Database. The nonprofit has not responded at all to certain questions in regards to maybe laundering this money or maybe having an influx of how some interconnections involved with getting this $100,000 grants. Specifically, originally before Mayor Scott and Hannah Scott were married, one day before their relationship announcement, Be More Empowered was awarded with an $80,000 grant from taxpayer-funded Downtown Partnership of Baltimore at an event that also was attended by the couple. I know me personally, if I had any jurisdiction or any power and I wanted to sway a young lady or someone to maybe be in a relationship to me and I wanted to flex that power, I would be like, just open up a nonprofit. I had this thing coming up. I'll give you a free $80,000 for your nonprofit. All you have to do is go on a date with me and marry me, have my kids. I mean, it sounds like a good deal, doesn't it? Shout out to Spotlight on Maryland. They were the most of the research I did for this specific topic. Spotlight on Maryland sent 3 questions to the mayor and also the mayor's wife. They still haven't received any answers in regards to these questions, but I think it's good to know what the questions were. So the questions that were asked were, how did Be More Empowered spend the money that was allocated through the Baltimore City government? And will the Baltimore City government request that Be More Empowered return the funds? Finally, was it a conflict of interest for Baltimore City to send Be More Empowered money, given that the organization employed Mayor Scott's partner? Certain red flags in this department came from a professor of the University of Alabama, Linda Parsons, who specializes in nonprofit accounting. described the tie between taxpayer dollars and mayor wife as a conflict of interest, mirrored in the giant red flags, quoted to say, "It's definitely a conflict of interest. I'm not saying that it's a problem necessarily, or that it's allowed. However, when there are conflicts of interest, they need to be acknowledged. There are no communications about conflict. There have been no communications about where the funds are. There have been no communications about what this pause means or how long it's going to be. There are no financial reporting that is required. To me, those are all giant red flags." And as quoted, I think anyone else looking at this entire situation would step back and say, this is a entire red flag. I mean, a lady that you just met the first day, before you met her, you like they basically making it seem like they didn't know each other before this event happened, before she received the grant money, and they just coincidentally started to marry and have kids after this event. And me and you can see this face value that that's bullshit. So that's just a piece of the pie. Piece of the pie here. We're going to learn a lot about this going into this series. Hope to explain everything in detail as far as where the money will come from, where it's allocated from. I mean, of course, we know where it's allocated from. The podcast is simply named "Where the Fuck Is My Money?" This is our taxpayer dollars that we take out, that we work 3 to 6 months out of the year for free. For this is what that money goes towards, and this is investigation into towards that. So I hope you do find this information important. I hope you share this to a friend, see the importance of it, because at the end of the day, it's our dollars. And if they didn't do it to you, they're going to do it to somebody else. So how deep is this hole? How many nonprofits do we know that's causing us a waste? Well, federal data shows that Maryland is the home of at least 42,489 registered nonprofit organizations. Baltimore City alone accounts for that larger share, for at least about of 6,645. Among them are charities that provide essential services, but as we just previously went over, operators of unlicensed assisted living homes, and other community-based groups have posted as nonprofits, yielding unclear or ineffective results. Oh no, I didn't even get into that. We have a network of unlicensed assisted living homes that every day is collecting city-funded grants, um, you know, people's information. I'm pretty sure you've heard of human trafficking, sex trafficking, but have you ever worried about senior trafficking? Big shout out to Spotlight on Maryland once again. I learned this about through them. Through over a month's long investigation, Spotlight of Maryland have found repeated emergency dispatch calls to the same series of addresses involving unrelated seniors in distress. Documents obtained during the investigation show that Baltimore City had been monitoring more than 115 suspected unlicensed homes for years, with limited visible state intervention. So basically, these are unlicensed assistant lemons that people just got a house, just started taking old people from the hospital. They don't have no license. They've been doing this for 5 to 7 to 8 years, and they haven't been caught with. They've been receiving checks every month um, from mental hospitals. They've been receiving Social Security from the state of Maryland, and no one has caught up that all these things that are coming from a fraudulent assistant living home. So that's another problem that we're having here. Just for one specific situation specifically I want to talk about. In one of the records obtained, an elderly man was found under a bush in rain, barely alive, after leaving a suspected unlicensed home. In another incident, a man was discovered covered in feces with a diaper in his mouth. In separate cases, a woman was left unable to walk after what records describe as an untreated urinary tract infection. So, of course, we just think of it as just old people getting lost in the world. We think about old people, we send them off to somewhere. We don't think about them. We didn't really think about their conditions, because in Maryland, in Baltimore specifically, is a hot home of unlicensed assisted living homes where they can legally take your grandparents' information legally, take your parents' social security benefits, take everything they can from them legally from the city, because Baltimore City is having a hard time keeping track of licensed and unlicensed. They just basically just run them all through, put them all through basically. So there are unlicensed homes that are getting these elders from hospitals, from retirement homes, and they're just getting it. And these facilities, state subsidized facilities, are sending these people to unlicensed assisted living people just because they got the space, they got the bed, they see they got a rolling chair in the back, and they're collecting that Social Security, they're collecting their food stamps, they're collecting that, etc., etc. I mean, I personally know a lot about the situation because my family is in the assisted living business, the legal assisted living business. So we already know all the things that, all the regulations, all the rooms you have to, all the rules you have to check off. We have people that comes unexpected to the house, check on these people. These people have families and they are people as well. So that's another problem that your taxpayer dollars are going towards every year. Like I said before in the original first minute, upwards towards $1 to $6 billion of taxpayer dollars of going towards these type of situations. On the Artscape situation, the OIG reported questions of $516,150 in unapproved talent spending from ARPA funds, exceeding budget and including VIP events. This contributed to ending the contract with the BOPA, the nonprofit organizer, over debts and mismanagement. The city argues that it boosted the economy, but the IG recommends better procedures to prevent misissue. Baltimore office of the Inspector General found the city used more than $500,000 in federal COVID relief funds to pay music artists at Artscape 2025. The investigation began after a complaint about about $600,000 in American Rescue Act funds were spent on the music talent for the annual arts festival. Well, the actual number was $516,150 out of a $1.6 million grant. $240,000 was for one headliner, aka Fantasia, and about $125,000 was for Robin Thicke. I don't know why they making it seem like they're not trying to tell us who were the performers. Everybody was there. I was there. I have it on camera. It was Fantasia and Robin Thicke. Those were the top two headliner performers. And the only way we are aware of the last 3 or 4 situations I brought up was from our own Inspector General. Her name is Isabel Cummins. She has been the one pointing out certain things that needs to be taken care of. She's been the one noting the thing about Artscape, the thing about the overwork, the over 250 hours, overtime hours in one night. She's the one that's been in charge of auditing and inspecting all of the certain non-profits and things in the city. So right now, she is our only hope into finding the waste into these nonprofits. Right now, Isabel Cummins is the only person that can subpoena, that can demand these type of records. And you'll hear about this later on in the series. Actually, I'm gonna end this episode on this note. We're going to hear a lot about Miss Cummins going forward. We're going to hear a lot more from our mayor, Scott. We're going to hear a lot more from our governor, Wes Moore. Not only from his back and forth to Trump, but everything about him excusing the overspending from the city, the state, the overspending for the budget, and everything that he plans to do in regards of the deficit, where he's taking the money from to pay for the nonprofit waste, the taxpayer money waste. Because at the end of the day, of course, he's spending our money, but one day Maryland is going to have a bill that we can't cash. And what's going to happen then? So thank you for tuning in to the first episode of Where the My Money At, hosted by the one and only Blasé Chris. I hope to hear from you in the next episode. I hope to hear some feedback in this first episode to just to just to verify that I'm not crazy, that I'm not doing this and turning into some conspiracy theories, because that is my worst fear. Everything that you're going to hear in this limited series is going to be fact. You're going to have some episodes are going to have video evidence, audio, interviews. We're going to see how far we can take it. But thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. If you enjoyed what you listened to just now, I hope you like and subscribe and follow wherever you listen to your podcasts.